Why the practice of ally work? Let's use mindfulness as a comparison point. John Kabat-Zinn, amongst others, describes mindfulness as both a set of skills and a way of being. So the set of skills are like the different practices. And the way of being is where those practices orient us to. So we could also look at ally work similarly as a set of skills and a way of being. Today, I want to focus on ally work as a way of being. So if we think about the way that psychedelics are currently being brought into medicine and more broadly seen as a useful way to restore wellness, perspective, and a connection to holistic ways of being. The practice of ally work is similar. We can think about ally work as the way that we are in relationship with being. So mindfulness practice cultivates our attentional capacity. You could say that ally work cultivates our relational connection to being. Mindfulness introduces us to just being, to this simple way of just being as we are. Ally work allows us to explore our connection to being in relational fashion. So you could think of ally work more as a natural function, something that we already do in a sense. In one sense, it's connected to the function of dreaming. And if we just look at the function of dreaming in a kind of like a health sense, it's a way for us to biologically process and restore. And so if you think about the practice of ally work as cultivating this practice, this function of dreaming in a more awake form, it's like we're allowing the imagination and the less, let's say, rational and functional dimensions of our being to that we can connect our attention to those dimensions of our being. So we're less in a functional mode and we're more in a relational and open and connected mode, a wider mode of our being. Ally work is particularly functioning in a practice mode of dialogue. So when one sits down to do the practice, the main way to do that is simply to orient to this ally dimension of our being through written dialogue. And what I want to say about that today is it's a way to take care of the human dimension of our being, the practice. So think of the practice as a way to take care of the human dimension of our being. Human dimension of our being needs love, nurturance, care. And through the practice of ally work, we can meet the needs of that human dimension of our being. in a sense, you could say we're conditioned to think of ourselves as just being humans. But it's also possible to see that being human is just one dimension of our being. Being a body, being human is how we tend to identify, and that's to be expected. That's sort of the mode in which we exist. However, as the Yoruban spirituality would say, when we come into human existence, we pass through the waters of forgetting. And what are we forgetting? It's like we're forgetting our connection to these other dimensions of being. Practices like mindfulness, many spiritual practices, they all sort of function to restore, to reconnect us to these other dimensions of our being. And that's what ally work simply does. And then once we can reconnect to those other dimensions of being, it's simply a way to support us in integrating our human experience more fully. Why are we here? What's our purpose? We're just recalibrating the human dimension of our being to its rootedness, its meaningfulness, its purpose. And really, by restoring ourselves to a relational context of love, which is what the practice of ally work really is, then we can basically see that, we're here as human beings in the capacity to serve, to love, to care. That's who we really are in truth. So this practice of ally work is just a really simple, accessible, you might say efficient way to reconnect ourselves to that real depth of our purpose and our meaning. Things like psychedelics do that, ally work is something where you don't need to take a substance, but it's just sort of going into a relational mode in which we naturally connect to that dimension of our being. We open up to it. So maybe that's enough for today. And maybe the last thing I'll say is, to talk about this stuff is one could have many conversations about this. Practices, ways of being, dimensions of our being, and there's no full way to capture this in any one conversation. So we're really just in the conversation today, just touching in on getting one perspective on the larger dimensions of our being. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for exploring together.